Station Commander Zilax's emergency alert screamed across every channel. Human in direct contact with apex predator cub. All protocols failed. Nobody move. Zilax whispered into his comm, watching the monitor feeds with mounting horror. Containment team, hold position. One wrong set. According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. And we're documenting the first human death in Krathik's territory. Through the external cameras, Evelyn Davis crouched beside her dropped screwdriver, completely unaware that the creature sitting 3 meters away could disembowel her in under 2 seconds. The Krathik's cub, easily 200 pounds of scaled muscle, crystalline claws, and needle-sharp teeth, had picked up her tool and was holding it gently in its mouth. "Sir!" Xenobiologist Keldra's voice cracked through the command channel. "She's reaching toward it." "I see it," Zilax hissed. Every instinct screamed at him to order the neural disruptors to fire, to grab the human with the emergency tractor field, to do something. But Krathik's cubs had a hair-trigger kill reflex. Any sudden movement, any loud noise, and the cub would strike. Then its parents would strike. Then the entire pride would descend on the station, and nothing short of orbital bombardment would stop them. The Krathiks were the reason this entire sector had been marked as no contact for 3,000 years. They'd killed the last 47 species that attempted peaceful interaction. Their aggression was so legendary that most civilizations considered them a natural disaster with teeth. And Evelyn Davis, maintenance engineer 2nd class, was about to pet one. "Oh, thank you." Evelyn's voice came through the external audio pickups, bright and cheerful. "I've been looking for that everywhere." "She's talking to it," Keldra breathed. "Commander, her tone registers as pack-friendly vocalization. The cub's ears are, oh stars, they're forward-positioned. That's a trust indicator." Zilax watched, mandibles frozen in shock, as Evelyn slowly extended her hand. The containment team had their weapons trained, but their targeting lasers were shaking. Everyone knew it was pointless. If the cub decided to attack, she'd be dead before the first shot discharged. The cub stepped forward, placed the screwdriver in Evelyn's palm, and made a soft, chirping sound. "Good puppy," Evelyn said, and scratched it behind the ears. "Abort, abort, abort!" Someone screamed over the channel, but the cub didn't attack. Its eyes half-closed in what every xenobiological database in the sector would classify as pleasure response. Its tail, a muscular appendage capable of shattering reinforced hull plating, swished gently against the ground. "Pull up the Krathik's behavioral archives," Zilax ordered, his voice barely functioning. "Every documented interaction, now." Data flooded his display. Krathik's Encounter 1. 17 dead. Station destroyed. Encounter 2. Entire diplomatic envoy consumed. Encounter 3. Research vessel went silent, found as debris. Field. The list went on. Hundreds of encounters, 0 survivors, 0 peaceful contact, until now. "Commander," Keldra's voice had dropped to a whisper. "Movement at coordinates 47 Mark 9, the adults." Zilax's secondary heart stopped. 2 full-grown Krathiks emerged from the rocky outcropping 20 meters from Evelyn's position. Each one was the size of a ground transport, all muscle and armor plating and evolutionary perfection. They'd evolved on a death world so hostile that their biology had become a cautionary tale in xenobiology classes across 3 spiral arms. The male's crest was fully extended, a threat display that preceded 97% of recorded Krathiks attacks. "Extraction team, prepare for—" "Wait!" Keldra's claws clicked rapidly across her console. "They're not attacking, they're observing. Commander, the female's posture is passive alert, and the male, his crest is extended, but his jaw is relaxed. That's not a pre-attack stance. That's what?" Zilax demanded. "I don't know. There's no record of this behavior. It's like they're monitoring, supervising." On the monitor, Evelyn stood up, screwdriver in hand, and smiled at the cub. "Thanks again, buddy. You're a good helper." The cub chirped again and trotted back toward its parents, who watched Evelyn with unblinking eyes. Evelyn waved at them. Actually waved, like she was greeting neighbors at a station social. Then she turned back to the hull panel she'd been repairing and started whistling. "Someone explained to me," Zilax said slowly, "why that human is still alive." Nobody answered, because nobody knew. In 3,000 years of recorded Krathix encounters, involving hundreds of species and thousands of casualties, there had never been peaceful contact. The galaxy's most lethal apex predators didn't do gentle, they didn't do friendly. They certainly didn't return lost tools and accept ear scratches. But apparently, nobody had told the human that. "Sir," the containment team leader called. "Orders?" Zilax stared at the monitor, watching Evelyn Davis work on the hull panel as if she hadn't just committed suicide by courtesy. The Krathix family remained in position, watching her with an intensity that should have been terrifying. "Hold position," he finally said. "Document everything, and get me every xenobehavioral specialist within 3 systems. We just witnessed something impossible." "What do we classify this as?" Keldra asked. Zilax watched as the cub trotted back to Evelyn, who'd apparently dropped a wrench this time. The little predator picked it up delicately in its teeth and brought it to her. "Classify it as a miracle," Zilax muttered, "and hope it doesn't end the way every other Krathix encounter has ended." But even as he said it, watching Evelyn thank the cub and offer it something from her lunch container, he knew they were witnessing something that would change everything they understood about both humans and Krathix. He just had no idea how to explain it. "Commander, she's doing it again." Zilax didn't need Keldra to specify what it meant. On the monitor, Evelyn had sat down cross-legged on the rocky ground, and the Krathix cub had flopped down beside her like some kind of domesticated companion animal. She was showing it the screwdriver, pointing to different parts of the hull panel. "Is she teaching it about maintenance procedures?" Zilax asked weakly. "Worse." Keeldra's voice had taken on a slightly hysterical edge. "The cub is learning. Look at its eye tracking. That's active attention behavior. Commander, Krathix don't learn from other species. They eat them." The cub's head tilted, following Evelyn's gestures. Then it chirped. A sound that Keeldra's database unhelpfully noted was typically made before juvenile Krathix disemboweled small prey. Evelyn laughed. "Yeah, I know. It's pretty boring stuff. But somebody's got to keep the station running, right?" She patted the cub's head. The cub's tail wagged. "Keeldra," Zilax said carefully, "Krathix tails don't wag. That's not in their behavioral repertoire." "I know, sir." "So why is it wagging?" "I have absolutely no idea." Movement from the adult Krathix drew everyone's attention. The male was approaching, not stalking, not charging, just walking toward Evelyn with purpose. The containment team's weapons tracked him automatically. "Hold fire," Zilax ordered, though his voice shook. "If we shoot, we're all dead anyway." The massive predator stopped 2 meters from Evelyn. She looked up, smiled, and said, "Oh, hi there. Is this your little one? He's been really helpful." The Krathix male stared at her. Then, in a movement that made every xenobiologist in the command center gasp simultaneously, he lowered his head and pushed something toward her with his snout. "What is that?" Zilax demanded. Keldra zoomed the camera in. It's a fresh kill, sir. A rock crawler, still warm. He's bringing her food," someone whispered over the channel. That's pack bonding behavior. That's what Krathix do for Pride members." Evelyn looked at the dead creature, then back at the male Krathix. "Oh, that's very sweet of you, but I actually brought my own lunch." She pulled a container from her tool bag. "See, but thank you anyway. That was really thoughtful." The male Krathix's crest flattened, not in aggression, but in what the databases would later classify as confusion. He'd just offered this strange creature the highest honor a Krathix could give a non-family member, and she'd politely declined. And she was still alive. "This is impossible," Kaldra muttered, pulling up more files. "I'm cross-referencing every known xenosocial interaction pattern. Commander, by every metric we have, she just insulted a Krathix alpha male. She should be dead 3 times over." But the male didn't attack. Instead, he settled down on his haunches, his massive bulk creating a windbreak between Evelyn and the harsh station environment. The female joined him, positioning herself on Evelyn's other side. They were protecting her. "Get me high command," Zilax said. "Priority emergency channel. We need specialists here immediately." "What kind of specialists?" "Sir, all of them. Every xenobehavioral expert, every human cultural analyst, every—" He stopped, watching as Evelyn opened her lunch container and pulled out some kind of earth food. The cub immediately perked up, sniffing the air. Evelyn broke off a piece and held it out. "Want to try? It's just apple slices, nothing fancy." The cub sniffed suspiciously, then delicately took the offered food in its teeth. Its face immediately scrunched in what was unmistakably disgust. Evelyn laughed. "Yeah, I figured you wouldn't like it. You're probably a carnivore, huh?" She patted the cub again. "That's okay, buddy. More for me." But the cub didn't spit it out. Despite its obvious distaste, it chewed and swallowed the apple slice, then chirped hopefully for another. "Why would it eat something it clearly doesn't like?" one of the analysts asked. Kaldra's voice was soft with realization. "Because she offered it. It's accepting food from a pack member. Oh stars, they've fully adopted her." A new sound cut through the channel. Multiple sounds, actually. Chirping from different directions. "Commander," the containment team leader's voice was tight with panic. "We have movement, multiple contacts, juveniles." The monitors showed 5 more Krathix cubs emerging from various hiding spots, all converging on Evelyn's position. The adults watched but didn't intervene. "Evacuation protocol," Zilax started. "Belay that," Kaldra interrupted. "Look at their approach vectors. That's not hunting behavior. They're curious." Evelyn looked up from her lunch as 6 Krathix cubs surrounded her, all chirping and nosing at her tool bag with interest. "Well, hello there. You're all very friendly, aren't you?" She reached out and scratched ears, rubbed scales, patted heads. The cubs competed for her attention like oversized puppies, despite being individually capable of tearing through reinforced bulkheads. "This is a nightmare," Zilax muttered. "Actually, sir," Kaldra said slowly, pulling up a new data stream, "this might be the most significant xenobiological discovery in recorded history. The Krathix Pride has accepted a human as one of their own. A human who, according to our records, is a maintenance engineer with no xenobiology training, no diplomatic credentials, and no apparent awareness that she should be terrified." On the monitor, Evelyn stood up, brushing dust off her maintenance coveralls. The cubs immediately stood with her, forming a loose circle around her position. "Okay, gang," she said cheerfully, picking up her tool bag. "I've got to finish this panel repair. You all want to help?" 6 cubs chirped in unison. "Commander," the containment team leader said, "she's heading toward the outer hull section. That's Krathix territory, primary nesting grounds." "I know where it is," Zilax said grimly, "and I have a feeling we're about to learn a lot more about Krathix social structures than we ever wanted to." Because as Evelyn walked toward the most dangerous section of the station's perimeter, surrounded by apex predator cubs with the proud parents following behind, one thing became absolutely clear. The human had been adopted, and the galaxy was completely unprepared for what that meant. Council xenobiologist Vex Thule arrived 6 hours later via emergency shuttle, his credentials proclaiming him the foremost expert on aggressive xenofauna in 3 sectors. He took one look at the monitor feeds, and his crest went completely flat. "That's not possible," he said. "We know," Zilax replied tiredly. "We've been saying that for 6 hours." On the screen, Evelyn was working on an exterior hull panel while Krathix cubs fetched tools for her. One held a wrench in its teeth. Another had somehow learned to carry her diagnostic scanner without crushing it. A third was actively clearing debris from her work area, using its claws with surprising delicacy. "They're helping her," Vexthul breathed. "Krathiks don't help. They kill, they eat, they reproduce, they kill more things. That's the entire species' behavioral profile." "Watch this part," Kaldra said, pulling up a recording from an hour ago. The footage showed Evelyn explaining something to the cubs, gesturing at different components. Then she'd pointed at a specific tool in her bag. The smallest cub had immediately trotted over, selected the correct tool from 6 options, and brought it to her. "They understand her instructions," Vexthul whispered. "That's impossible. Krathik's cognitive function doesn't include—" He stopped. "Play it again." They watched it 3 more times. "The tool recognition is one thing," Vexthul said slowly. "But look at the alpha male's position. He's allowing the human to direct his offspring's behavior. That's a privilege reserved for Krathik's royalty. Pride alphas don't submit to anyone." "He's not submitting," Kaldra corrected. "He's acknowledging her authority over the cubs. It's different. Worse, actually." "How is it worse?" "Because it means he sees her as an alpha equivalent. Possibly higher." The command center fell silent. In the 3,000-year history of Krathik's observation, no species had ever been recognized as alpha equivalent. Not even close. "What did she do?" Vexthul demanded. "What protocol did she follow? There must be some specialized human diplomatic training, some pheromone manipulation, some—" "She dropped her screwdriver," Zilax said flatly. "A cub returned it. She said thank you and petted it." Vexthul stared at him. "That's it? That's it? But—" Vexthul pulled up his own databases, centuries of compiled research scrolling across his display. Approach protocols, submission gestures, territory acknowledgement, scent marking. None of that was performed. "She waved at them," Kaldra offered. "Does that count?" Vexthul's manipulator appendages trembled slightly. "What's her background? Xenobiology degree? Military special forces? Diplomatic corps?" "Maintenance engineer," Zilax said. "Her file says she's certified in basic hull repair, life support systems, and that's about it." "Previous alien contact experience?" "She fixed the waste reclamation system for a Centaurian delegation last year. They sent her a thank you note." Vexthul sank into the nearest chair. On the monitor, Evelyn was taking a lunch break, sitting cross-legged on the ground with 6 Krathik's cubs sprawled around her in various states of relaxation. She was showing them pictures on her datapad, apparently photos from Earth, and the cubs were chirping with what could only be described as interest. "This human," Vexthul said carefully, "has accomplished what 13 different civilizations failed to do despite dedicating centuries of research and thousands of lives to the effort. And she did it by accident." "Essentially, yes," Zilax confirmed. "What do we tell the council?" "That's why you're here. You're the expert." Vexthul laughed, a sharp, slightly unhinged sound. "I'm an expert in Krathik's aggressive behavior patterns. This isn't aggressive behavior. This is—" He gestured helplessly at the screen, where Evelyn was now apparently playing some kind of game with the cubs, tossing a piece of scrap metal for them to retrieve. "This is domestication behavior, pack bonding, social integration, things that don't exist in the Krathik's behavioral repertoire." "Except they clearly do," Kaldra said quietly. "We just never knew how to trigger them." "And the human triggered them by being polite," Vexthul finished. "By treating apex predators like helpful neighbors." They watched as Evelyn stood up, brushing dust from her coveralls. "All right, buddies, back to work. These panels won't fix themselves." The cubs immediately formed up around her, ready to assist. "Someone needs to talk to her," Zilax said. "Explain what she's done, the significance of—" "No," Vexthul interrupted. "Don't you see? She doesn't know it's significant. That might be why it's working." "We need to understand how she did this," Zilax said finally, "before the council arrives and turns this into a diplomatic incident." Vexthul nodded slowly. "Bring her in, carefully, and pray the pride lets her go." 20 minutes later, Evelyn stood in the command center, looking confused and slightly annoyed at the interruption. Through the windows, 6 Krathix cubs sat in a neat row outside, watching her intently. The adult pair flanked them, alert but calm. "Is something wrong with my work?" Evelyn asked. "Because I'm only halfway through the panel repairs, and I'd really like to finish before the next shift." "Your work is fine," Zilax assured her. "We need to ask you about the Krathix." "Oh, the big scaly guys?" Evelyn smiled. "They're great. Super helpful once you get to know them. The cubs are especially sweet." Kaeldra and Vexthul exchanged glances. "Ms. Davis," Vexthul began carefully, "do you understand what Krathix are?" Local wildlife? Indigenous species?" Evelyn shrugged. "I figured they were something like that. Why?" "They're apex predators," Kaeldra said. "The deadliest known species in this sector. They've killed every other species that's attempted contact." Evelyn blinked. "What? But they're so friendly." "To you," Zilax emphasized. "Only to you. We need to know what you did. What protocol you followed. What made them accept you." "Protocol?" Evelyn looked genuinely baffled. "I didn't do anything special. I dropped my screwdriver near their den, and the little guy brought it back. So I said thank you and gave him a pat. That's just basic manners?" "You said thank you," Vexthul repeated slowly. "To a Krathix? Well, yeah. He helped me out. Would have been rude not to. And the petting. He looked like he wanted attention. I don't know. He had that look that dogs get when they want ear scratches." Evelyn paused. "You're telling me those are actually dangerous?" "They've destroyed research vessels," Kaeldra said. "Consumed entire diplomatic envoys. Caused the abandonment of 3 colony worlds." "Oh." Evelyn glanced out the window at the cubs, who perked up when they saw her looking. "Huh. They've been nothing but helpful to me. Bringing tools, clearing debris, even tried to share their lunch." She wrinkled her nose. "I wasn't hungry for raw meat, but it was a sweet gesture." Vexthul's crest went rigid. "They offered you food?" "Yeah, the big male brought me something earlier. I thanked him but showed him I had my own lunch." Evelyn tilted her head. "Was that wrong? You guys are making this sound like a big deal." "It is a big deal," Zilax said. "Food sharing is a sacred Krathix pack bonding ritual. By politely declining but showing appreciation, you performed the perfect response. Respectful but asserting your own status." "Oh." Evelyn processed this. "So when I shared my apple slices with the cub, even though he clearly hated them." "You completed the bonding ritual," Vexthul finished. "You established reciprocal pack membership. Ms. Davis, do you realize you've been adopted by a Krathix pride?" "Adopted?" Evelyn laughed. "That explains why they keep following me around. I thought they were just curious about the maintenance work." "They're protecting you," Kaeldra explained. "The cubs assist you because you're now part of their family structure. The adults permit this because they recognize you as, well, we're not entirely sure, somewhere between pack member and alpha equivalent." Evelyn looked out at the Krathix family again, her expression softening. "They really see me as family?" "Apparently so. That's actually really sweet." She smiled. "A weirdly aggressive family, but still sweet." "Ms. Davis," Vexthul said, "what you've done, purely by accident, is establish the first peaceful contact with Krathix in recorded history. This will change everything." Evelyn shrugged. "I just treated them like I'd treat anyone else. With respect and basic courtesy. Is that really so revolutionary?" The 3 xenobiologists looked at each other. "For the galaxy," Zilax said quietly. "Apparently, yes." 3 weeks later, Station Protocol Manual version 8.7 included an entirely new section titled Human Courtesy Protocols and Cross-Species Application. Commander Zilax reviewed the updates with a mixture of resignation and awe. Section 12.4 now read, "When interacting with potentially dangerous xenofauna, station personnel are advised to employ basic human social courtesy as demonstrated by Engineer Davis." This includes verbal acknowledgement of assistance, non-threatening body language, reciprocal gift-giving when appropriate, and treating apex predators like helpful neighbors. The Galactic Council had sent 17 different research teams. Evelyn had politely declined to meet with most of them, citing her maintenance schedule. The air recyclers on Deck 7 won't fix themselves, she'd told a very disappointed counselor. Maybe next week. Kaldra's research paper, Accidental Diplomacy, Human Social Instincts as Universal Pack Integration Protocol, was already being cited across 4 spiral arms. Vexthul had submitted his own report titled, Why Everything We Knew About Krathix Was Wrong. A Human Dropped Her Screwdriver. The Cubs, now officially designated as Engineering Support Team Delta in the station logs, had learned to recognize 17 different tools by name and could fetch them on command. The adult Krathix had permitted station expansion into previously forbidden territory, provided Evelyn personally inspected the construction sites first. They trust her judgment, Kaldra had explained to the council delegates. If the human approves, they approve. It's unprecedented. Other stations were already requesting human maintenance personnel. The applications specifically noted experience with aggressive xenofauna preferred but not required. Will train in human courtesy protocols. Zilax found Evelyn in her usual spot, working on the exterior panels with her 6 cub entourage. The largest cub, the one who'd first returned her screwdriver, was carrying her tool bag, while 2 others held a hull plate steady as she welded it into place. Ms. Davis, Zilax said through the comm, the council wants to give you a commendation. First peaceful contact with hostile species. It's a very prestigious award. That's nice, Evelyn said, not looking up from her work. Can they mail it? I'm kind of busy here. They'd prefer to present it in person. There would be a ceremony, speeches, media coverage from 70 worlds. Pass. Tell them thanks, but I've got 3 more. Sections to repair, and honestly, I just want to finish my shift and grab dinner. Zilax clicked his mandibles in what had become his usual response to Evelyn's priorities. I'll inform them you're otherwise engaged. Thanks, Commander. She finished the weld and stood up, brushing off her coveralls. The cubs immediately perked up, tails swishing. All right, gang. Next panel is around the corner. Let's go. The Krathix family followed her like an honor guard, the adults maintaining their protective positions while the cubs jostled for the privilege of carrying tools. Kaldra joined Zilax at the observation window. You know what the strangest part is? That we're watching apex predators work as maintenance assistants. No, that she genuinely doesn't understand what she's accomplished. To her, this is just another Tuesday. On the monitors, Evelyn dropped her wrench. The smallest cub immediately retrieved it, chirping proudly. Good job, buddy, Evelyn scratched behind its ears. You're getting faster at that. Zilax pulled up his incident log and added the final entry. Day 21. Engineer Davis continues standard maintenance operations with Krathix assistance. No incidents reported. Cubs have learned 4 new tool names. Adult male brought Engineer Davis another kill offering. She politely declined and shared her sandwich instead. Status: distressingly normal. He paused, then added, Note: requisition approved for expanded sandwich supplies. Also, update all first contact protocols to include try being nice first. Through the window, Evelyn moved to the next work site, her deadly family following faithfully behind. Deck 7 next, she said cheerfully. That air recycler's been making weird noises all week. The cubs chirped their agreement. Just another day at the station. Just another impossibility that humans made look easy. 6 months later, the screwdriver incident became mandatory reading at the Galactic Diplomatic Academy. Evelyn Davis never attended a single lecture about it. She was too busy training the cubs' younger siblings. The pride had grown, and apparently decided the human needed more assistance. The galaxy learned that humanity's greatest superpower wasn't strength or technology. It was the radical notion that maybe, just maybe, Treating others with basic courtesy and respect might work better than ancient protocols and fear-based assumptions. Evelyn just wanted to finish her maintenance rounds and get lunch. The universe adjusted accordingly.